have I got screen sharing sort of capabilities?
I think anybody can share. Try it.
Okay, share screen. Desktop there. Yeah, looks like it.
We're gonna watch one of the videos you sent around, or examples. Cool.
Yeah. What I'm going to do first is just show you a few photographs of Matisse as he was. Let's just make that full screen. Oh, here we go. There we go. So Matisse was born in 1869 and died in 1954. He was one of the most innovative painters of the 20th century. And in the last 17 years, largely because of health problems, so he had bowel cancer and a major surgery, which confined him to bed and wheelchair subsequently, pretty much. He concentrated very much on the cutouts, and he'd used these in the early days to help plan his paintings. So he'd sketch things and then he'd cut shapes out of coloured paper and collage them as a means of composing his paintings. And he'd sketch things from different angles and abstract them so that he had more interesting paintings. I find that really fascinating. And he would cut out paper shapes and pin them on a board or on the wall. And later on, when he was confined to his bed, he actually had his female assistants climbing ladders with a wristband with all the pins in and a hammer hung around their neck so that they could bang all these bits of paper onto the wall. So he'd select the color and the shape and get them to put it up. And some of his finished works have got over 1,000 pinholes in them. So that just makes you realize how much he used these cutouts as a means of composing. So he was layering shapes and color. He was very interested in the way one color augmented another, the way the colors sort of bounced off each other. He often based his forms on images direct from nature. So he'd take a leaf from the garden and he'd not only sketch that, but he would actually do cutouts directly from nature. But later on, he started cutting as a means of creating an artwork in his own right. And that's sort of where we're coming from now. Let me just show you the video, if I can, of there we go. Let's get to this bit. Oh, now I want to stop that second or make it full screen. Here we go. So I think that's probably as much as we need to look at for now, but there's quite a few. Oh. Actually, that video, Matisse the Cutouts, Art Fund UK, that is a very good one to watch, but it's quite long. So I think you can look at that in your own time, really. And we'll go back to this presentation for a second. So he also drew on the wall with some charcoal on a long stick. So he was using drawing as a means of composing too. And this is at a time when he was doing, towards the end, when he was creating very large murals. And in fact, he's designing for a stained glass window for a chapel towards the end of his life. And here he is sitting in a wheelchair, cutting up endless pieces of coloured paper. Yeah, you can see the carnage on the floor and around him. He was very, very prolific. One of his best known works, or some of his best known works, were based on these leaf forms, which looked to me more like seaweeds, but in fact they were based on leaves that he could see through his window in the garden. And I presume these are abstracted apples as well. So this is one of the simplest forms that I want you to try and do to start with. And so I'd like you to get a nice, I hope you've got a nice large sharp pair of scissors and a colourful piece of paper, whatever you like. And I want you to try and recreate this. So just let your eyes follow around the outline and just cut. And I found it easiest to look at what you were creating rather than look too much at what you're cutting. So it's almost like drawing without looking. You're actually drawing with the scissors, if you like. He actually looked even at the idea of sculpting in paper. So I think you need to think about that, the fact that it's to a certain extent 3D, and that was particularly true when he got onto doing some of the bodily forms. So I'm going to only give you 2 minutes to do this, which may seem harsh, but I don't want you to fiddle around, okay? I just want you to go for it.
Just a question.
Yeah.
Did he used to just literally attack the paper with scissors? He would never draw around first?
Well, occasionally he would, particularly with the figures, he would draw the figure and then cut pieces of paper, which he used to compose his final cutout piece. But anyway, I'm going to give you 2 minutes starting now.
Oh, I've started.
Good, that's all right. I'll allow you this time.
God. Not easy, is it?
Meanwhile, it's hooting down in rain here.
No, just absolutely chucked it down here. It's fine here. I'm on the hill.
Threw it down about half an hour ago here. So.
Okay, so it's coming our way.
Sorry, Judy, what was the instruction? Look at what we are cutting, not what...
So look at the picture, look at the image, and just let your eye follow around the outline and turn your paper as well as turning the scissors. So it's great if you're standing up because you can use both arms and move around more.
Running out of paper.
That's all right.
Ugh.
Ta-da!
Hooray! You've got another 30 seconds.
Oh dear. Help.
Blimey, Peter. Wow.
Can't do the last bit. Ugh.
Hey,
I just back one.
Hey, done it.
well done. Okay, time is up.
I've left one from now.
Oh, I can't stop my timer going off now. Brilliant. Oh, wow. That's fascinating. Right. I would like you to get another piece of paper and do it again, because you will find that as you practice, you'll get more fluid and it'll become easier. Okay? So you ready?
Oh, I can't find.
No rush.
Pieces of paper we need in total.
Well, you can, it doesn't really matter. You can always, yeah, you probably, half a dozen would be good, or a bit more if you've got them. Okay, go. You might want to think about a different scale. I didn't say that, did I? Because I started off doing mine quite small, but I think big is good.
Good idea, actually.
We're all going to be A3, basically.
Okay.
That's what I'm told not to do.
Oh. Ow.
How are you getting on with your scissors?
Interesting, you said, Judy, that the more we practice, the better we get. But I think it kind of almost, it's not even a better thing. It's just every time, even though you try and cut the same thing freehand, it's just going to result in something different.
Yeah, it's very true.
For some time now, I've been, well, quite many years actually, I think, when people talk badly about something, I make the point that it's not bad, it's just different.
Yes.
Especially, it all started from people really poo-pooing British cuisine.
Yeah.
But it's not bad just because it's plain, like plain meat and potatoes and 3 veg. It is just different. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And I've kind of projected that to quite a lot of things now. And yeah, this kind of feels exactly the same, that I don't feel that I'm getting better at it. If anything, probably I'm going to like the first one most.
Yeah.
Without shadow of a doubt.
Interesting.
But it's, yeah, just producing something different despite trying to copy the same thing.
Yeah. Okay, time is up.
Oh no.
So do it upside down.
Finish.
All right. Fantastic. Well, I thought I'd just show you the sort of layering that Matisse did with his different shapes and using different scales and color. Color was so important to him. A lot of the time he worked on a white background, but then when he was repeating imagery, he often put it onto colored backgrounds and he created this sort of mosaic of these images, usually the same similar size. Usually it was about A3, and he'd use white on color as well as color on white, and roughly cut forms. And I think this is really interesting. And you can also see that he's incised the paper, which is something else he did to try and create a more 3D effect, if you like, particularly when he
Say
was...
that again, please. Incised. What does that mean?
Sorry?
Cut.
Did you say incised?
You cut.
Incised, he's cut it.
Cut it.
With
Okay.
a blade, presumably. Not with
As in,
Knife or
as in
something.
incision, Ildiko.
Right. Okay, right.
Not inside, incised.
Yeah, I just wasn't fully aware of the meaning of the word.
Yeah.
Did he do that
Yeah,
with a
okay.
blade? Not scissors, obviously,
I
the blade.
No. I should imagine that it probably was a blade, because although if he folded the paper, he'd be able to do that, but you'd think he'd have an angular bit in the middle if he'd folded the paper.
And also you would see the fold in the paper, and that isn't, well, not apparent.
Yeah, although he's not worried about folds in the paper, you can see there's a fold in this green piece of paper right across the piece.
Yeah.
Another thing is you can see the brush marks
Yeah.
in the painted pieces of paper, and I think that makes the whole thing more interesting.
Did I mention that last week that we
Yeah.
told when we were doing wallpaper design that even if we want the white background, still paint it white so there are brush marks, and that elevates the quality of the design.
Yeah, yeah. Now, how many people have got a piece from nature, something that they can do, that they've collected? Something.
Yeah.
I've got it in front of me in the window.
Great. Okay, so my next thing for you, you can do the whole thing or you can just do a leaf or whatever. I want you to look at it for a minute and just turn it in front of you and see, just let your eyes follow the outline and work out what you might make from it as a cutout. And usually Matisse went for an outline, but he didn't always. He sometimes cut out a section of something in one color or in one piece of paper, and then a section of it in another piece of paper. So it doesn't have to be the whole thing all out of one sheet of paper. Okay, and you can layer sections on top of each other to alter your composition. Okay.
So can we cut out little pieces of the item?
You could,
then-
but you don't want to make too many little pieces because I'm not going to give you very long to do it. I'm going to give you 3 minutes for this one.
What?
All right. And you can always do it in a more complicated way subsequently. So, and you can also cut up the cutout that you've done and use bits of it to layer. So there's lots of ways of working with this. All right, is everybody ready?
Yeah.
Off you go. 3 minutes to do your own composition of your own thing from nature.
In the meantime, can I just say that in this particular work that you are showing us on the screen, I specifically really like that the red insert bit.
Yes.
They provide
Without,
movement.
without, if you take one of those elements away, it's going to spoil the composition, isn't it? It's quite intriguing. This is a particularly Christmassy one, I thought.
I'm sure he didn't intend it to be.
Would people like to tell us what they've got, what they're actually they're cutting? I've nearly said drawing, but it's the same. It's drawing with scissors, isn't it? Peter, what have you got?
Well, I forgot to actually read your instructions, so I've got a casting of a sycamore key, and I'm
Oh, lovely.
using that basically.
Yeah. You could do that about 10 times, Peter, well, in 3 minutes.
I'm not sure you can see it through the back window, but I have a bush just outside the
Great.
window, and it's got like palm-like leaves, kind of in a way, with like 7 or even more leaves, like pointy leaves. So I'm gonna.
Fantastic. So you're just going to do a leaf. Brilliant. I like that.
I've got a rose hip.
Oh, that's interesting.
I've got a Christmas flowering cactus that isn't flowering.
Oh, Sally, what's that?
It's a coral.
Oh, how fabulous. Go for it.
I am trying.
Strangely, I've got a piece of coral too.
Oh, great. You can do that as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great minds, Peter. Great minds.
Oh, it's marijuana.
Yeah, that's exactly. I held it up. I thought, yeah, actually. It hasn't got little zigzag leaves, but yeah, it's actually a pretty reasonable representation of the leaves of that bush that I just showed you.
Well, you've got another 30 seconds to do another one, Ildiko.
But the insert bits, like I really like this kind of style, and the bush has got berries as well, so I might actually end up.
So you can add some berries and make your Christmas cards.
Kept silent then.
Rachel, what have you got?
I've got an aubergine.
Oh, brilliant.
They're great.
I love the shape of aubergines.
Oh, here we go. I'll give you a little bit longer.
Hard to do.
Yeah. Yeah, Matisse did a whole lot of vegetables. He made a huge cutout. There was a Matisse cutouts exhibition at the Tate 6 years ago that I went to, and he'd had a big one there that was vegetable forms.
Oh, I think I went to that one. Yeah.
It's very uplifting, very inspiring.
Mine doesn't look like a Christmas flowering cactus.
Mm.
It looks more like some kind of bird.
Actually, I even got some glitter, like gold glitter paper, kind of from previous Christmas crackers. I thought it's Christmassy. I might actually use that.
Yeah, right. Let's stop now. How did you get on?
Not enough time.
Okay.
I think it's quite hard to do a composition in different colours in such a short period of time.
Yeah, I think we're just the workshop's really to give you ideas of what's possible, and then in your own time you can do more of whatever sort of floated your boat. It's how I'm thinking. How are you doing, Sally?
Yeah, I'm still, I was cheating. Okay.
Oh, oh, I like the incisions. What a good idea. Yeah, excellent. Ildiko, how are you getting on?
Well, I cut my leaf, which you saw, and then it's got some lovely things in the middle. So I cut out these little yellow things that I will glue on at some point, similar to the picture you are showing on the screen now.
Right. Rachel, how are you doing?
It's a bit too organized. Rachel is muted.
Yeah, I'll try and show you.
Oh, great. Where's your aubergine?
At the bottom.
Ah,
Can you see them?
yeah, 3 aubergines.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Mim, how are you doing?
Put it down a little bit. I can see.
Okay. There.
Oh, I've lost you. Oh, lovely. Yeah. I like the fact you put the red on a yellow background, and that actually makes it zing, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's fascinating. So everybody can try putting their coloured forms onto coloured backgrounds and see what a difference it makes. How about you, Nuala? How are you getting on?
Oh, fine. I'll have to hold it because that, oh, can you see that?
Yeah.
I can see myself, and then I'll show you the. Sorry, I'm just bringing myself back up on screen.
So is that a black background?
It's a dark grey,
Okay.
and it's a bright pink and a violet, and then I've done the rose hip. Oh, I don't know if you can see that really, but that, I think that would be nice on this blue background. The colours don't seem to be coming out very well on the screen. They're really bright.
Yeah, but I can imagine that orange on blue is going to be fabulous because, of course, they're complementary. It's going to really zing. Ildiko, how are you doing?
I did one in light blue. It's like a nice soft light blue. So I chose I only had a few, but I mean, I've got literally colors of the rainbow in cards, so I'll look through them in a minute, but that was on top. Of course, as you said, the red on yellow looks pretty striking,
isn't it?
I haven't prepared any backgrounds to stick on, so actually, but it's quite nice to have these A4 size cards at hand.
Yeah.
And my little leaf, I haven't actually put it on anything. I'll need to glue the little yellow things on first.
Yeah.
Probably.
So Peter, what are you showing us there?
I can't lift this up without everything falling off the table, so I took a photo of it.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, gosh.
There's a shadow lying across it, basically.
But the shadow adds another element, doesn't it?
Yes, I'll have to keep it.
So you could think about putting some dark card as part of the background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
white one. I'll try a black one.
Pardon me.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Okay, so is everybody happy?
Yeah.
Do you want to do your natural form again, or should we move on?
Move on.
Yeah, let's move. Okay, so I mean, this is just showing you how he sometimes layered his backgrounds. And then he's got black and white cutout forms on coloured grounds here. So that's another thing to think about if you wanted to create an abstract ground. And Peter, there you go. You can play with your backgrounds. And you've probably got, if you painted your paper, it's probably white on the reverse. So you can experiment with turning it over and seeing how that works.
I really quite like this one.
Yeah. And down at the bottom, he's got what looks like something that's just sprouting, and it's very organic, isn't it? This is one of his most famous ones that he did towards the end of his life, and this was arranged on the walls of the room where he was bedbound, which were white. And so the gallery wall has been recreated with a white background. And the mermaid towards the top right was originally one of his blue nudes, but he turned it into a mermaid. This one's called The Mermaid and the Parakeet. It's very exotic. He'd been on holiday, I think, to Tahiti. It was somewhere very exotic anyway, about 12 years before. And so he was thinking about that holiday, I think, when he created this. But this is so exciting, and it just shows that it doesn't have to be a coloured background. You can just go with coloured forms on a white background. But I think the juxtaposition of the colours becomes very, very important. The selection and the juxtaposition of the colours. And here he is on the front cover of Paris Match doing his cutouts with one of his most dedicated assistants.
Why is it that he only had female assistants? Because earlier you kind of very much emphasized that.
I don't know, maybe I think this lovely lady was actually a nun. He was so disabled. He had a colostomy bag at this stage, or colostomy. I don't know whether they had bags like we do now, but I sort of imagined that there was no way that he was going to have sexual liaisons with his assistant.
She was probably more of a carer.
I think so. I think they were very much carers and looking after him in all sense of the words, as well as being his muses, perhaps to an extent. Okay.
Because he divorced from his wife, didn't he, after 42 years, and fell in love with what's her name?
Yeah.
And she is a assistant or secretary or something.
Right. Well, yes. But I think that anyway, we'll see. But I can't remember all the details. I have to look that up, Sally.
Quite interesting.
Yeah. I like this one because the forms go across the background, and also one of the forms sort of becomes the background. It's very much about the sea. I love the waves in this. He did a whole load of work, cutouts based on swimmers. And I think this is, I can't remember, but I think this might be called The Swimmer. So the body forms become very abstract, and they sort of merge with the waveforms, which I really think is wonderful. And it's interesting to see the 3 different coloured backgrounds he's used here as well. And the pink is so vibrant against the blues and greens, but without that, the whole thing wouldn't work, would it? So I think that's quite intriguing. Right, well, next exercise, I want you to try and do a body. And this is actually a photograph of one of Matisse's early sculptures. This is a bronze. He actually was inspired by Rodin. So what I want you to do is just take a minute looking at the outline of this and looking at the relationships between the different parts. And you can either cut the figure as one piece and the base as another, or you can do the whole thing, or you can just do the figure. And one of the things I want you to notice is how important this space is. Can you see underneath, sort of between the arm and the head and underneath the body? Those spaces I want you to try and cut out. Okay? And this is a lot more of a challenge, you'll find, but it needs to be abstract anyway. And if you make the parts like the arm that is being lent on bigger, that actually helps with your abstraction because it makes it weighty. And this curve here that goes from the waist into the hip is also very important. Right, are you all ready? Going to give you 3 minutes again. Off you go.
Oh, I'm lost.
It's tricky, isn't it? Keep going. Don't worry too much, just do it. Because the abstraction is part of it. So it doesn't, accuracy is not important.
Well, that's lucky. It's not
And-
even a recognizable humanoid form at the moment.
But this,
Actually, I think that's all right.
have you cut out the base as well?
No.
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 I've done.
Yeah, you could cut it out of a different piece of paper and put it behind, which would be quite interesting, wouldn't it? You got another 30 seconds to do that if you wanted to.
30 seconds. Oh, God.
Or just use a piece of paper. If you had a different background for the lower part that was darker, that would work, wouldn't it?
I need to have a scalpel or something.
Oh, Jane,
Oh, no.
look at that. Great. Sorry, I've been ignoring you, Jane, because I had my gallery view, so I couldn't see you.
Wow.
Oh,
Well,
that's
that's brilliant, Jane.
Where's Jane gone? She
Oh, really?
disappeared.
Would
I
try.
don't know what I've done, but I just cut some red paper.
Yeah,
That's what I've done.
fantastic.
like a
Oh,
blob.
look. Yeah.
Let
But
me
aren't
see.
they interesting anyway? It doesn't matter.
Around.
It doesn't matter if it doesn't actually look like a body. I think they're really, really interesting shapes in their own right.
It's difficult to get the inside bit if you're
Yeah.
using scissors to look nice, isn't it?
I agree. You need a sharp point on your scissors.
Yeah.
Matisse's parents were, I think they were weavers. They were certainly in textile business. And so he was used to handling huge sort of dressmaking, upholstery sized industrial level scissors. And so I think that's partly why he used these techniques. Let me try going to the next one. Is it not going to work? Come on. Okay, so just to show you, this is another sculpture that he did, and I find this quite extraordinary because it's so abstracted. And I think for me, this is too abstracted to actually be particularly useful for doing the cutouts. I prefer the previous form. Would you like to have another go at that?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. Everybody happy? Let's go for it.
We're doing the same one.
Yeah, but you could do it on a different scale, or perhaps I was thinking of turning it upside down and seeing whether that helped, but I won't.
Might do it brown. I don't know, maybe start the other way around this time. Last time I started with the leg, maybe I'll start with her arm. Strange, you want to turn her upside down, don't you?
One of the reasons I'm talking about turning upside down is sometimes you see things in a different way because you're not using the part of your brain that's getting you to draw or cut what you think you know rather than what you can see.
Yeah, you're using what you actually see, not what the brain tells you should be there.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing that's quite interesting is that Matisse was very interested in dancers and the circus and trapeze artists in particular, and clowns. And so he was very interested in movement, and we'll come on to that in just a minute. Are you all done?
Nearly.
Okay, so we'll move on to what I was talking about. Let's just do that. Oh, just one more thing. His blue nudes were very famous, and the reason that I got so inspired by Matisse was his blue nudes, because I just think they're absolutely magnificent. And I put this one up because his nudes were, the background to that was his drawing. So you can see here the charcoal drawing underneath the cut pieces of paper. And there's not just one cutout here. There are dozens of pieces of paper that he's pinned on top of each other in order to create this composition. And the other thing I want you to notice is the gaps where one leg is folded over the other, which helps to create a sort of 3D form. and he talked about sculpting in paper. And I think this is absolutely fascinating and really instructive, because when you see prints based on these or a photograph, you don't generally appreciate how he created them. And that's another thing you can do, is use slips of paper and layer them in order to create your final work. Now, movement. Wow, this is the sort of thing that I'm talking about. The absolute, I mean, it's almost so abstracted that it's not a body. And if you look at individual pieces, they are very abstracted, but the whole thing creates this extraordinary feeling of a body in motion and the energy involved with it. The dancer.
Judy, is that in one piece or loads?
I think that's lots of pieces. I'm trying to see it. I can see lines going across it, and I think he has, and there's also some of the outlines look as though there's a pieces of paper that have been overlapped. So I think this is a big work, and I think that this is lots of pieces of paper. But I wonder to what extent he's got his assistants to glue pieces of paper together and then he's cut it, rather than it, because the lines flow, don't they?
How big do you think it is?
I think this might be he did some murals towards the end of his life, and some of these murals were 10 feet high. Oh. So I think that this figure may be 5 or 6 feet high.
Oh, so it's kind of life size.
Yeah, at least. And this is an amazing. This is somebody leaping over somebody else. I'm trying to remember the name of the painting. But anyway, I put this one up because you can see all the pins and all the different pieces of paper that he's used to produce the composition. And also the gaps, again, are important. So the head's not actually attached to the body, which I find intriguing.
Yeah, because it's the what's the word? The representation of it, that probably, like, anatomically they are almost kind of like correct where the head is compared to the body, so the neck is the bit that's missing, but yeah, because it's proportionate, your eyes know what they see.
Yes. And also if the head had been sort of, I don't know, 5 millimeters to the right or 5 millimeters to the left, or angled slightly differently, it would create a very different mood. I think angles of heads are so important.
The black one is obviously looking upwards to the other figure.
Yes, and also you can see the drawing underlying it, which I find intriguing too. So he'd actually drawn it first and then used the cutouts to create the final work.
Well, I can't see.
This thing had 2 white arms,
Sorry,
a bit like turtle fins or whatever, you know, the front legs of the turtles. Yeah. It just reminded me of that.
Yeah. If you like, I'll put these into our Facebook albums folder, and then you can blow them up on your computers and look at them in your own time. Or do you not want me to? Yeah. Are you happy for me to do that? Yeah.
Of course.
This is just showing some of his drawing. Just extraordinary. Again, acrobats. He's really interested in the movement of the body, particularly that back bend, which comes in again and again and again. And sculpting.
You may have said it already. When did he become disabled in his life?
It was the last 10 plus years. He was doing the cutouts the last 17 years. I'm trying to remember the year he had his surgery, because that's when he became really disabled. But obviously the surgery was successful. I think it was about the last 15, 16 years of his life, he was really confined to bed and wheelchair pretty much. He wasn't able to get about so much. So, and this is where those drawings went. And you can see drawing on the wall behind the cutouts too. I like the fact that you've got the brown paper stuck on the wall behind the cutout. I think that really adds to it.
I imagine that was his own guideline, wasn't it? To sort of draft date first and then add the cutouts.
Yeah. But look at how abstracted those bodies are. Absolutely amazing. And the fact that that arm that goes down to the floor is enormous. And then even more abstracted bodies.
They are abstracted, but not to the extent that you don't know what they are.
It's true. Yeah. No, I like that. The fact that you know it's a body, and it's got, you identify with it, and it's got that energy and dynamism. And this pink form on the left is actually, again, a circus performer with a dagger. So he's about to throw the dagger at the woman who's standing there against the board, waiting for the dagger to be thrown into the board next to her, which I think is absolutely wonderful.
Oh my goodness.
And here's the trapeze coming in again. And the yellow squiggles are the trapeze artists flying through the air.
Now they are very abstracted body shapes.
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
But if you know he's interested in circuses, you immediately get it, don't you? If you identify the trapezes. Yeah.
Did it help with the title?
Oh yes, I think so. Yeah. I think it was just trapeze or something like that. But also, if you think of those black squares underneath, that's the net, isn't it?
Yeah.
The safety net.
For sure.
Yeah. So he's using pattern as a means of representing things. They're symbolic in a way. But look at his color, isn't it fantastic? You got red forms on one side and purpley pink on the other. Yellow, blue, green.
I like the mixture of the very vivid, like pink and the blue, and then you have a kind of more muted green.
Yeah.
Works very well.
And you wouldn't necessarily think of putting one of the trapezes in as white, because he does use white very cleverly, I think. Yeah, apparently he had 17 different oranges that he used. He was very particular about color. Right, so I'm going to get you to try and do a cutout of a body in motion.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Are we drawing this first, or just?
No, I just want you to cut it out.
Cut it out in one piece and several.
Yeah, try it in one piece. I mean, subsequently, if you wanted to draw it and then do it in lots of pieces, you could. But I just want you to have a go.
Yeah. Okay.
Doing it in one piece. Off you go.
Heavens.
There's mine.
Great.
I'm not sure about great, but it's a shape.
Let us see it again, Mim.
It actually looks more like something
Mermaid.
in the sea.
Wow. Gosh, Eldercare, that's beautiful.
Amazing.
Extraordinary representative. Sally, brilliant. I
Yeah,
love
like-
it.
He's lost a leg.
There's no, yeah, but you can add that if you want
Make
to.
it look like a ballerina.
Yeah, I mean, I think Eldercare, yours lacks a bum a bit.
The rib cage has kind of got trimmed a little bit.
But the great thing about this is that you can cut more paper out and add bits, as you saw that Picasso does. Oh, not Picasso, Matisse. How's everybody getting on? Time's up. Yeah, happy?
Where's Peter gone?
Here.
Yeah.
Oh, there you are.
Peter, how did you feel about doing the moving form? Was it more exciting?
I'm just trying to, I quite like what I did as well, basically.
Great.
Take a photo of it.
Okay, Sally, how did you get on? You loved that, didn't you?
I did actually.
Yeah. Oh, great on the blue. Fantastic. Yes, I love it. Mim, how did you get on?
The jumping dancer suddenly looks like something
Yes.
swimming up from the bottom of the sea.
Now, isn't it interesting what a difference in sort of the energy that you feel of the different colours? And this is something else that Matisse was quite interested in, is how colour can be representative. And he did, yeah, oh, lovely, Ildko. But what about on a coloured background? What difference does that make?
That's a very light purple. I don't know if you can see that.
Okay, yeah, it looks white from here.
I put it on a yellow one because
Yeah.
that was at my hand.
Hasn't that got much more energy?
Yeah, it's a very vibrant yellow.
Yes.
But I really like the Sally's red one on blue,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
especially as like you can see the brush marks. It's very bottom of the sea light.
Yes. And also red's a very energetic colour, isn't it? Fantastic.
Good idea. Should have used red.
You can always do it another time. Rachel? Oh, you're muted, darling.
Oh wow!
I love that leg.
Very abstract.
Yeah. Jane? Oh, wow. Fantastic.
Great.
Peter, have you managed to take a photo of him?
And isn't it interesting? It doesn't have to be accurate. You still get that sense of movement.
No, not in mine.
Oh, we can have another go.
Oh,
So, Nuala, how have you got on?
well, I like the legs, but not the top. Oh, it's so hard, isn't it, to show? Oh,
All right.
because I've got two bits for the legs because they.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to have two bits. I think.
Yeah. But you can always incise into it and alter it.
Yeah, yeah.
And or you could get some more orange paper and also the form by covering up parts of it. So you can sculpt that way.
Oh, I
from
see what you mean. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So Peter, have you got something to show us?
Well, I'm not very happy. I just tried to alter it.
Go on.
That was that's roughly what I've done.
Where are you? I've lost
Turn it a little bit, please. It's the sun is catching it, so we can't see.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
better.
That looks great.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's got the
Thank
real
you.
energy of it.
Oh,
Exciting.
that's lovely.
Movement in that one.
Yeah. It's really got loads of movement.
Okay. So this is another one that Matisse did. He World War II was going on, and there were bombs, and people were dying, and so he represented the bombs going off with these yellow stars, if you like, or whatever you call them, to explode.
Well, explosions, aren't they?
Yeah. And the dead bodies, which I find this extraordinary. It's sort of it reminds me of what's happening in COVID at the moment, you know, and all the fact that there's so much there's so many crises in the world and people are dying. And the fact that that red dot is there, without that red dot, it wouldn't have the impact, would it? Or the meaning. And you probably all know this one.
Snail.
The matisse snail, yes, which is enormous. And there's lots of elements here. And for me, that this doesn't do it the same way that the bodies do. And it doesn't have the same sensation of movement.
I mean, it's kind of interesting to see it in a sort of, I don't know, roughly 20 by 20 centimeter piece on the screen, but what's its real size?
Oh gosh, it's about 15 feet by 15 feet, something like that. I mean, it is enormous. It's a lot higher than
kind of like what was it? Sorry, 15 feet.
Yes. So
times 30 centimeters.
It's
that's 4.5 meters. Blimey, that's.
It's big. It's probably about 12 feet actually, twice the height of a man.
Well, about 4 meters. That's huge. That's like a decent sized room, isn't it?
It is enormous. Yeah.
I'm just saying, what's the name of that German artist who had a major exhibition at the Plymouth Museum? Then I was either in first or second year in 2013 or 14.
I went to it.
Did he do work like this?
No, well, not mosaics, but he did these ginormous paintings, and on a photograph they would appear one color, but when you went up to close to the paintings, there was quite a lot of texture in it and quite a lot of little delicate details. And I'm just sort of trying to relate it to that. I can't remember his name. Anyone?
Yeah, he scraped stuff, doesn't he?
That as well, yeah.
Yeah.
Richard would have known straight away.
Gerhard Richter?
That's the one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, I didn't know he'd exhibited in Plymouth. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started my course in 13, and I think it was the following, it could be 14 or 15 even actually. But anyway, so yeah, there was a big solo exhibition in the museum, in the City Museum. But anyway, so yeah, I'm just sort of trying to relate it that when you look at it on this particular piece on the screen, it looks no more than a nursery sort of activity of a 3-year-old. But if you imagine it in that ginormous 4x4 size, still it is kind of quite a little difficult without knowing what the meaning is behind it.
Yeah. I think a lot of it is because of the color. I think this is about the color as much as anything else. And apparently there is a tiny square of really precisely cut paper, and I can't see it, and I don't know where it is. But a lot of this paper is actually torn and very roughly cut. And so he hasn't taken a huge amount of care in actually the cutting and the composition. The shapes are irregular and what have you. And there is a tiny area that is very precisely done. And I'm just wondering what the significance of that is. I don't think anybody knows. And you just wonder whether this is about how small things can be very important. I don't know. But anyway, that's just me.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting that all his shapes are really quite abstracted, yet we can recognize them in their simplicity. But here, there is nothing obviously recognizable.
Yeah.
So it must have an underlying meaning, like things you're saying. It's kind of like the life is hectic, but occasionally you have a little bit of order in it somewhere.
Yeah.
Isn't it supposed to be like a spiral?
Yes. Well, it's called the snail, so it is. It is about the spiral. But look at how some of the bigger shapes are in the middle, and some of the smaller shapes are more peripherally placed. So it's chaotic, isn't it?
It could be his own life, that it's all fragmented because he couldn't have a in some ways not fulfilled, because of course he could carry on with his art, but he was completely confined to a wheelchair, and he was quite heavily disabled.
Yes.
So that's really disruptive, and these torn edges could represent that, but we can read whatever.
Yeah, you can.
Into it.
And that's because you know that about him.
Mm.
I mean, I think you're right, Ildiko, in the sense that, I mean, I don't think it's that brilliant looking at it as we see it on the screen, but I should imagine if it's huge in real life, that would be, wow. I'd like to see it.
I would be curious if some of these pieces of papers were hand painted, because again, then that quality comes back into it, where each piece of paper is painted, and then you see the brush marks, you see the work that's gone into it, that gives it such a different dimension.
The other thing that I find intriguing by this is he is demonstrating how important white can be again.
Yes.
As a background.
And it's how the colours work together, because although it looks quite random, if you try to do something similar, it's just, you know, it's quite difficult to get colours that look good together in the way that he has.
Yeah. And the balance across the work.
Yeah.
He's also framed it in his orange.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. And brought the orange into the piece, into the middle of the piece as well.
And a different shade of orange.
Yes.
Yeah.
3 different shades. Well,
Yeah.
4 if you count the red.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And you wouldn't immediately think that the pink would work.
Oh, that's sometimes amazing, isn't it, when you put orange and red together, or like in the past, like brown and black was a complete utter no-go, and then a few years ago it was height of fashion.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, and then you put like bright pink together with orange, and it's like that shouldn't work, and then you see a dress with those colors mixed on it, and it's just like vibrant and lively and really quite beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's interesting if you take the pink out, you know, actually for me it's the pink that sort of makes it work in a way.
Yeah, you're quite right. If you cover that corner up, it loses so much.
And the red.
You know why? Because if you take the purple and the pink out, then you are left with the black and white and primary colors. And the pink.
Oh, yes, he's got all the opposites, hasn't he? Going on there.
Actually, yeah, these are all the primary and secondary colors, aren't they, all in all?
And yet I wonder how much he thought about it analytically, or whether he just did it instinctively to what pleased his eye.
I suspect it was instinct, don't you, Rachel? And also experimentation, because he was playing with juxtaposition of these colours on the wall and on the whole time. And he'd sometimes be up half the night actually moving pieces of paper around, or getting somebody else to move pieces of paper around on the walls. to work out his compositions. Yeah, I thought I'd just show you some of the work that he did at the end of his life for this chapel. That was the chapel of the where the nun who was one of his assistants, whose name escapes me unfortunately.
I've seen that.
Yeah. Oh, have you? Great. It's in France, isn't it?
Yes, a long time back in the 80s, but it was absolutely stunning.
Yeah. And of course, you've got the original composition that he did with the cutouts on paper, exhibited alongside the stained glass windows, which is lovely. And it just, the light coming through there must be absolutely fabulous.
Actually, as a
Beautiful
process,
blue.
as a process, it lends itself to stained glass, I think.
Yes.
Have any of you ever worked with stained glass?
No.
I didn't directly, but when I was at school, one of the girls' brothers, one of my classmates' brothers worked in a glass factory or something. I don't know, one day she rocked up with this ginormous pile of all sorts of colored glass. So her course, she was in the painting course, there were 7 of them. And in one semester, they ended up doing little pieces of stained glass. So they got the metal bits as well, and the fusing and the welding and all that. And all 7 of them came up with a decent sized stained glass design and made it. It was just beautiful to see. But of course, we were able to go into each other's workshops during the school day. So we watched them do it. And it was just fantastic how it all comes alive. And then, of course, when they did their end of year exhibition, they had these massive windows, beautiful old building our school was in. They had all their works up against the window and then covered out the rest. So they had the light off, and it was the daylight that was highlighting the windows. That was really quite wonderful.
There are almost 2 different types of stained glass. If you look at if you go into most churches, each piece is cut. Not many of them are cut to the shapes that you see in his cutouts.
Okay.
That's bloody difficult.
Mm.
You can't cut that sort of shape. So that would be stained glass as in the painting on the glass, and then fusing the paint, the enamel in, and then cutting ordinary geometric shapes. If you have a look closely at that one there, up in the top, they're cut. It looks like they're more cut because you can see the dark lines of the lead frame.
Okay.
But at the bottom where it gets squigglier, I would suggest those are enamel paint fused on to get the design that's wanted.
Okay, interesting.
Which gives that's not such a clear see-through image. It's not quite so translucent as if you get a piece of coloured glass and stick it together. If you look at churches, you have the detail that's enamelled on, the people with the dark bits on to highlight, or to show faces and what have you. And those are usually less striking, bloody clever. And it's done layer after layer after layer. You can't get all the enamel to the depth of colour that you need immediately. So you have to keep refiring to get the different tones. So you will do the background ones first, and then add layers of enamel paint.
All right. So Mim, these the clear, what would be clear glass, the white areas.
Probably, yeah.
Those would be cut, or are you saying that the yellow would have been enamelled on?
I can't tell.
Right, yeah. And it's not a good photograph either, because I scrunched this from a book.
Yeah.
Okay. It's fascinating, isn't it?
Is it possible to have it any larger?
And I love the star shapes, and that's very Christmassy too, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Again, this is going, I told you about his swimmers and the swimming pool. This is just a black and white photograph showing a corner of his the hotel room that he spent some of the last part of his life in, and how he's been working on the walls. And what I love here is he's got a white strip of paper around the wall, and then superimposed the cutout forms on top, which are actually bright blue, and they go off the piece of paper onto the wall behind, so they're not just confined to the outline of the paper. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to show that. And don't you love his portraits? They're so lovely. And I suspect that a lot of these were done just with a bit of a brush, an ink, or a charcoal on a stick. And I just find them fantastic.
Because with such few lines, the expressions are so strong and so recognizable.
Yeah. And don't you love the chair in the corner?
I have my eye on that.
I want it.
And the mantelpiece is gorgeous too. Fantastic.
Actually,
there you are. This is in an exhibition, I think in New York, where they showed the swimming pool series of cutouts that he made, and they actually tried to copy the position from his photographs, because of course that wasn't actually rolled up as he would have shown it originally. They had to reproduce where the cutouts went based on the photographs of his hotel room. And I think it's fabulous. And look how abstracted those forms are.
Okay,
Yes, you recognize all the swimming positions.
And a diver, and yeah, it's
even
wonderful.
if some of them are upside down, but yeah.
Yeah. And here he is again at the end. So yeah, I think that's the last one. Yeah, that's the first picture I showed you. And you can look again at some of these the cutouts on the wall here, and how varied they are and how dynamic they are. So how have you found that?
Great.
Very interesting. Thank you, Judy, for putting it together for us. It's
Not at all. Well, I thought that I would sort of leave you to get on with cutting out the sort of forms that you feel most inspired to do, or going to sketches or drawings that you may have done in the past or that you feel inspired to do, and then working with cutout paper on top of that, maybe layering lots of little bits to help with your composition and changing the forms. And I look forward to seeing what you're going to post.
Yeah, it's really
we're going to have to start a Matisse Cutouts album, and I'll do that with these pictures to start with, and you can add to it. Okay.
Well, I don't know, is that what you said? Because it's only 11:20. I thought maybe for the next half an hour, just like as if we were in Unit 11, we would now get on with making one or two collages, either with what we've cut out already, or if something inspired us, then make up something, as you suggested, an A3 size or bigger. And then just before 12 o'clock, we would all show what we've done. But we can continue chatting and consulting and stuff.
Brilliant. Is everybody happy with that? If you have to go, you have to go. But
I just click through all the pictures from the presentation to just sort of reinforce some of the inspiration.
Do you want me to just go through them now? And you can tell me to stop if you want me to stop on something in particular.
Yeah. Judy, could you go through again the bit that you were telling us about when he was layering and cutting out? Yes, this one, please.
Yeah.
Will I leave that one up?
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
But can we click? There was another one that was inspiring for me, the one with the tiles, like overlapping the background.
The blue nude. Oh, that one.
That one. Just take a photo of it, so I've got it for myself.
Do you know if you click, I think it's Command and what do you call the button that you press?
Right, I evicted the keyboard. No, this is fine.
Yeah. Because you can do a screen grab.
Screenshot.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, I've got the snap tool as well on the computer, but that's fine. This is fine.
What's
You
it?
feel free to go back to the other one. I actually really quite like that other work. That one.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, shall I stop the recording now?
Yes.
Might as well, yeah.
Okay, I'll do that.
Thank you, Peter.